Earth, what do you think is easier to move? Is it easier to move mountains or to move a little bit of water? Water. Easier to move the water. So, and I'm doing this as like the really quick version so that you guys get to go to the beach quicker. So if you imagine that around the Earth we have this water. And Moon, I'm going to get you to grab onto this right here. Then I'm just going to get you to hold tight for a sec. We'll show what your role is in a second. Now, if the moon starts to pull on the water, pull a little bit, see what starts to happen with the hula hoop is the water. So the moon is pulling on the water. Is there more water over by the moon or away from the moon? By the moon. So if water is being pulled in one direction and there's lots of water there, high tide or low tide? High tide, lots of water filling it up. Over here, it looks like it would be a pretty low tide, but that's where our secret force comes in. Secret force. And you're going to grab the opposite side? Because Gordon wants to do a really cool demonstration for you. Yeah. Because the tricky thing about the moon and the Earth is when they're spinning, when they're doing this, they're actually spinning around. The Earth spins around how many times in one day?
A lot.
About once.
One and a
Yeah, about approximately once. Now, what is the moon doing? Well, the moon and the Earth are actually, so the Earth is spinning around itself, and then the moon and the Earth are actually spinning around together as well, which causes this weird thing to happen. Have you guys ever been on one of those merry-go-rounds before? Yeah. And you like lean out, and you're like, whoa, and then you try to go into the middle, and it's like, kind of stresses you out a little bit. Well, that's that secret force working. Gordon has a bucket that he just poured water into. Maybe stand in, maybe in front of our demonstration. Yeah. So, do you guys believe there's water in the bucket?
Yes.
There is definitely water in the bucket. It'll fall out. Now, if Gordon goes to spin the bucket around, let me fill that up.
Sorry.
What happens to the water?
Stays in.
It stays in. Now, if he slows down, the water will fall out. So when something's moving around in a circle, we have forces that are working on that water to keep it into the bucket, and that's our secret force there. So when the moon and the Earth are spinning around together, there's an opposite force on the opposite side of their spin, the secret force, and so when the moon pulls on that side, our secret force is also pulling on this side. So what we end up with is two areas of high water and two of low water. So again, if we are right on the front here, you're holding there, if this is us here, right now with you guys pulling, do we have low tide or high tide where we are?
Low tide.
Low tide. Now the Earth spins once in a day, so now what do we have?
High tide. Low tide.
And if I kept spinning her around and made her really dizzy, you guys would keep saying the same thing. So if she spins around once in a day, approximately once in a day, how many high tides and how many low tides does she have in the day?
Two of each.
Two of each. There you go. So if you ever look at tide charts, you're going to see there's 2 low tides and 2 high tides listed every day. But then our sunshine comes into play. Because there can also be high tides, high low tides, low high tides, low low tides. Pretty confusing. Well, the sunshine can come in and you can grab on either directly in line with the moon. And if you're directly in line with the moon and you pull too, what happens to that water? Stretch down even more. You get high tides, spring tides, those big, huge tides when the sun is in line with the moon. Now, if the sun goes on the opposite side, and right here, and this is perpendicular. Look at all the math lessons that we're covering here. And we pull. What happens to the water?
It
kind of evens out. Is the high tide very high? Is the low tide very low? No, so there's not much of a difference in the tide. And that is basically how the water moves and why there's sometimes water here and sometimes not. That's the basics of it.